Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for being here for our first ARInsights webinar of 2026. Appreciate you taking the time out of your Thursday to be here live with Crystal and me. My name is Connor. I am the marketing manager here at ARInsights, and I am joined, as I just mentioned, by somebody who I think everybody on the call knows and loves, has known and loved for a long time, the one and only Crystal Golightly. Hi, Crystal.
Hi all.
So let's get right into it. So folks, this is kind of a special occasion, today's webinar, because I think as everybody on the call knows by now, either from what you're seeing on the screen on this title slide or whatever promotional material it was that got you to sign up for the webinar, we just released a new tool. New year, new tool. It's called AR Connect, and we are very excited about it. So excited about it that Crystal and I were like, well, obviously we gotta do a webinar on this new tool. So that's what brings us all here today. And the purpose of the webinar, the reason we're all here is there's a couple of things that we want to share with all of you. We want to share why we built this tool. We want to talk about the problems that we are solving for all of you with this new tool. That will be a quick part at the top of the webinar. And then the bulk of the webinar will be us sharing how we're actually using this tool to create and publish analyst-facing content and observe and measure how analysts interact with the content we publish, which ultimately serves this purpose of assessing how all this work is impacting the business. And in that process of sharing how we're using this tool, we will also along the way share the best practices that are guiding our usage, best practices that you can take with you after the webinar is over and apply to your own strategy for publishing content for analysts, and again, observing and measuring how they interact with it. So we're going to share why we built this thing, and then we're going to show it, show how we're using it, share best practices. Um, so that is why we are here. Here's our agenda. This webinar will be very light on slides, which I think and hope is music to everybody's ears. If anybody, a great use of the chat is if you're really upset that there's not more slides, let us know in the chat. I would love to hear from you. But I think everybody will be stoked that there's not too many. We'll be mostly showing the tool, how we're using it. Like I said, I will talk about quickly the problems that we are solving, why we built this tool, and then I'm going to exit the slide deck and pull up our actual live instance of AR Connect so I can show you all what we're publishing and again, talk through the best practices that are guiding what we're publishing. And then I'm going to hand things over to Crystal. Crystal will take over the screen and she's going to pop the hood on the back end of AR Connect and show the admin experience, the experience that you all will have with this tool. And then, like I said, we'll mention some best practices throughout. So at the end of the demo, we'll come back to the slides to recap those best practices, and any remaining time we will use to answer questions. A note on Q&A: as an attendee, you all should. Well, I know that you all have access to the chat. I can see everything that's going on in the chat. So what we ask is that and so there's the chat that you all have access to, then there's a separate Q&A function. What we ask is that you do please keep those two things separate. So use the chat for commentary. You want to share where you're calling in from. You want to comment on something from the presentation that stands out. If you want to just do some fun banter, that's perfect for the chat. Please do that. Any questions, though, that you want Crystal to answer, that you want me to answer, please do keep them out of the chat and put them in the Q&A. This makes sure we don't miss your question. We don't want to miss anybody's questions. And it also helps us synthesize the questions that are asking the same thing or essentially asking the same thing. So it's just best for everybody's experience if questions stay in Q&A and then any non-questions go in the chat. In terms of housekeeping, the only other thing I want to mention is that this is being recorded, and you all, if anyone has to leave early or if you have any colleagues who couldn't make it today, we will share the recording at the latest tomorrow. So keep an eye on your email for that. And that's all I think I have for housekeeping. Crystal, anything else you want to share before we get into the content of our webinar today?
I'm really excited.
Cool. That's a great thing to share. So yeah, like I said, real quick, let's just level set why we built this tool, the problems we're solving. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to talk about three fictional AR leaders who are experiencing very much non-fictional or real problems that I think will sound familiar to all of you. So first we have Nicole, who I don't need to tell you, I think you all can tell Nicole's not having the best day. And the reason that today isn't going great for Nicole is the same reason that yesterday didn't go great, the same reason tomorrow probably also won't go great. And that's the fact that she can barely get anything done because she's just inundated by a seemingly ever-growing universe of analysts coming inbound, sending her messages, requesting information. And this process, this near daily process of reviewing all these requests that come in and making the judgment call of what warrants a response and what doesn't. And in that first bucket, what are we going to share with this analyst? That process just saps so much of her time, so much of her energy, mental bandwidth that there's just not enough left when she's done to do all of the other strategic, proactive work that not only is so important to her, the efficacy of her program, but also the work that she actually loves to do and the reason why she's doing AR. So that's what's causing Nicole some stress here. Next, we have John, who, as you can see, also stressed out, but for a different reason. What's causing John some stress today is he just got a message from his CMO, who is a champion of his. And what his CMO is asking for is for some data that she can include in her slides for a board presentation. And specifically, she's asking John for data that will convey to the board the business impact that the AR program is having on the company. Now, John knows that the AR program is doing great things, and his CMO knows that. But in terms of data that the board will accept as legitimate, convincing proof of business impact, he doesn't have that. He's not sure what he's going to do to fulfill this request from his CMO. And then finally, we have Linda. What's causing Linda some stress today is the fact that an influential analyst in her space just published a new piece of content that touches on a bunch of vendors in the space, including her company. And much of what the analyst published about her company's solutions is out of date and inaccurate. It's old information. And not long after identifying this problem, Linda pieces together what happened. She realizes that the cause of this problem is the fact that months ago she shared over email a document with this analyst. And clearly, when it came time months later for the analyst to write this content, they had no reason to believe that information was out of date. So they used it as their source material. And now it's all public. And now there's all this incorrect, inaccurate information out there in the market. So, like I said, three fictional AR leaders experiencing very much non-fictional problems. So we have Nicole experiencing what we call the scale problem, John experiencing what we call the ROI problem, and then finally Linda experiencing what we call the accuracy problem. And as we were about to exit our slides for a while and get into the demo portions, and as we do talk about show the tool and talk about, we will circle back to each of these three problems, and we'll talk about how usage of AR Connect is keeping us and can keep you from also experiencing each of these problems. But before there is one more slide I want to show before we get into the first part of the demo. So I'll just leave this here for a second just so everyone can read this. This ties into that final problem we talked about, the accuracy problem. Crystal, is there any you came up with the idea to include this here? Any color commentary you want to share about this quote from Wayne?
Right. So this was actually something that Wayne shared with me when we were doing an analyst interview about how they're using the analyst portal, and if he's enjoying it and all of these types of questions. And he said he thinks that it's great because you never know what an analyst might find on the internet, and he likes the fact that these types of digital experiences are curated by the AR professionals because you guys know exactly what they need to know about your businesses.
Thank you. Yeah, I was so excited we could include this because it ties in so perfectly with poor Linda. So I'm going to bear with me for a second. Hopefully this all goes smoothly. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a moment because we're believe it or not, we're more than halfway done with all the slides we have for today. I'm going to pull up AR Connect. And where is the share button? There it is. Okay, Crystal, let me know if you see AR Connect. Great.
Perfect.
Okay, so welcome everybody to ARInsights' own actual live AR Connect site. So if you were an analyst covering the analyst relations software and services industry, this is the actual live site that you come to research ARInsights to find information about our software and services solutions. And as you can see, as an analyst, if you were an analyst coming here, you could search through the content, doing a keyword search. You could filter down to certain types of posts or posts on certain topics, which we'll come back to in a bit. If you were to find a post that you definitely needed to come back to because it's hyper relevant to your current research agenda, you can save posts, and then anything you save would be easily accessible here in this handy saved posts tab. If the information that you were looking for, you can't find it, you can always come up here to the message AR team button. So those are just some key elements of your experience if you were coming here as an analyst. Yeah, let me just make sure, check my notes, make sure I'm not missing anything. Yeah, so before I get the main reason I wanted to show you all our live site is because I'm going to talk about some of the content we're publishing and the best practices that are guiding our content publishing, the things that you can take with you after today. Before I start showing some of the content, I just want to quickly circle back to two of the problems we just talked about with our fictional AR leaders, and just talk about how it is that our usage of AR Connect is keeping us from experiencing those same problems. So first, we had Nicole experience what we called the scale problem. The reason we don't experience that scale problem is because analysts know that this is the one-stop shop. This is the place to come to find information about ARInsights. Crystal and I don't have that issue that Nicole has of getting inundated with all those emails with requests for information, right? Analysts can come here, self-serve what they need, and be on their way. So that's the scale problem. And then Crystal, we'll get into talking about reporting and engagement metrics. So I'll let her circle back to the ROI problem. But I can also quickly talk about the accuracy problem that Linda was experiencing. And the reason we don't experience that accuracy problem is because unlike a document that was attached to an email 4 or 5 or 6 months ago, everything here can be updated and kept up to date. So there's, as long as analysts are coming here and this is habitual and this is the place they come to find information, there's no risk of them finding anything except what we want them to find. No risk of them finding anything except what they should be finding, as Crystal touched on with the quote from Wayne Kurtzman. So just wanted to make sure didn't lose sight of the why we're here, the problems we're solving, and just talk through those. Now, the last thing I want to do before I hand things over to Crystal to show the back end, the admin experience, I do want to talk about some of the content we're publishing and talk about the best practices that you all can take with you. So the first thing I want to mention, and this is probably the most important, the one thing I would want you to take away in terms of publishing content, which is we are very deliberately with the content we're publishing here, we're very deliberately solving for a variety of analyst use cases or needs. What do I mean by that? What I mean is we're thinking very carefully about the reasons an analyst might come here. And we're making sure that there's content to satisfy each of those use cases or needs. And I'll share some examples in a moment, but first, just on why this is so important, why this is something that I recommend an exercise you also do, especially at the outset as you're getting ready to launch a site like this. Avoiding the scale problem and avoiding the accuracy problem is contingent on analysts buying into this being their one-stop shop, this becoming a habit for them. And a surefire way to prevent this from becoming a habit is to create a sort of incomplete experience where there's major gaps. So, if an analyst were to come here for the first time with a basic use case and they can't find what they need, what reason do they have to come back, right? So that's why I would encourage you, again, especially at the outset, to take the time to think really carefully about what are all the different reasons an analyst might come here. So for some examples, one reason an analyst might come to our AR Connect site is because they have clients who are experiencing a certain challenge or problem or pain point, and they want to determine whether and how we solve that problem. So as you can see, we have content here to satisfy that use case, content about relieving pain points around administrative work, content around pain points with ROI. This is the part of the program where we get very meta. This is content on our AR Connect site about AR Connect during a webinar about AR Connect. But in any case, that's one example of a use case that we're solving for. Another reason an analyst might come to our site is because they know we had a big flagship event and they couldn't make it and they're wondering what they missed. So as an analyst, you could come here and you could search AR Engage Live. If you know, you know. And here we go. Here is a complete recording of our CEO, Howard, his keynote presentation at AR Engage Live 2025. And I'll come back to this piece of content in a bit. That's another use case we're solving for. Another reason an analyst might come to our site, they have a bunch of clients in a certain vertical, and they're wondering whether and how we support clients in that vertical. So again, you could come here and you could search cybersecurity, and here we have a case study. So another use case met with a piece of content. Uh, another another use case or another reason an analyst might come to our site is because about all of their clients are concerned about the same trending topic. It's on all of their minds, and they're wondering what's ARInsights is. Do they have a take on this topic? And if they do, what is their take? So you could come over here to the filters, and you could filter down, say that topic that's on everyone's mind is AI. You could filter down to posts about AI, and you can see there's a bunch here, and I'll just call out. Um, we've isolated a portion of that keynote that I mentioned earlier, Howard's keynote from AR Engage Live. We've isolated the portion where he articulated our view on AI and our view on how AI will impact analyst relations. And here we go. Here's another use case met. So the point here is whether an analyst is coming here, again, to determine whether and how we solve a certain pain point, to figure out what they missed at a certain event, to determine whether and how we help clients in a certain vertical, to figure out what our take is on a certain topic. All of those different use cases are being met by what's published here. So that was the main point there. The second best practice I wanted to call out that's informing how we're publishing content uh, is we are making the most of a major content asset. And in our case, our major content asset is something I've already mentioned, which is our CEO Howard's keynote from AR Engage Live. If you were at AR Engage Live, you know that it's about 40 minutes in length. Howard covered a lot of ground, so it's our biggest content piece, and it's the one that we're spending time with, thinking about how can we repurpose this to meet as many use cases as possible. So as I already showed, the recording in and of itself is a piece of content that we're providing here. But I've also, as I mentioned, we also isolated the portion of that keynote where Howard, again, talks about AI, how we're thinking about it, how we see it impacting the AR profession. So this is showing how we've taken one major piece of content and we've repurposed it to satisfy multiple use cases without having to do much any additional work. Um, Another example is also part of that keynote. Howard spent a few minutes on RFI automation and the service that our agency provides called RFI Accelerator. So in this post about the RFI Accelerator service, I've included that segment of the keynote where he talks about this topic. So again, what I want to encourage everybody to try to do as much as they can is identify that major content asset or major assets and find as many ways as possible to repurpose it into multiple standalone pieces of content that can satisfy multiple analyst use cases. And the last best practice I wanted to call out before handing things over to Crystal for her part of the demo, I actually don't have to go anywhere for this one. The last best practice I wanted to call out is we are providing a variety of content formats for analysts to consume. So we're giving analysts the choice of a few different formats to consume their content. So you can see in this one post, we have a video here at the top, followed by the body of the post, essentially a blog post. And then we have a downloadable PDF. And the reason that we're doing this, the reason I recommend this is Crystal is going to talk about engagement data when she shows the back end. And by providing this variety of formats, what we're setting ourselves up to do is we can sit back over time and observe in the engagement data which formats our audience gravitates towards, which will allow us to be smarter about the kinds of content we publish going forward, which again serves this purpose of creating an experience that an analyst would want to make a habit. The more deliberate you are about catering to the preferences you're seeing in the data, the more analysts are going to want to come back to use this resource. Again, so you can avoid the scale problem, avoid the accuracy problem. So Crystal, unless you have anything else that you want to mention for the folks who are here while we have the analyst POV, or do you have anything else you want to share?
I think the only thing I want to share is we actually pushed this out to a few friendly analysts that were willing to give us feedback, and the feedback was really easy to log in and they really like the design. They felt like it was beautiful and simple and really easy to use. And for me, music to our ears, because that is exactly what we were going for, is easy, simple, and not too bad on the eyes, right?
Thank you. So I think with that, I can, again, I'll stop sharing my screen so you can take over and show folks how everything gets made.
Great. All right. So you'll see here that I am already in Architect. And um, as always before, we like to make sure that for those of you that will be managing AR Connect, you have only one password. That's really important to me, and I feel like it's really important to everyone else because there is a new AR Connect sort of pass through here. So it's essentially embedded right into your Architect, and that will leave you right here. Just like in past iterations, simplicity is really important for us. So, in the home screen, you get a really nice dashboard that immediately gives you some insight into how things are going. And then some quick actions like creating, see what's working, expand. Before I get into all of that, I want to show you just how easy it is to get things set up. You'll see that there's a left-hand nav. I love a good left-hand nav. I don't know about you, but it makes me feel like I know where my North Star is all the time. So we're going to go to our settings. So in the settings area, there's just three basic areas. Our general, which you can create a quick, what to expect here. So in the ARInsights one, you can see there's a quick little blurb here. And then who would be the contact? So anyone that is supposed to get that like contact AR, that's your name that goes right there. And then branding, we wanted to keep this really simple because we know that you don't need a ton more things to be worried about. So we allow you to upload your own logos, your own banners. You can choose your favorite font and then a brand color right there. From here, this is a really easy page that I think that for those of you that have used portals in the past, um, this actually simplifies a lot of things. What kind of posts do we plan on posting, right? We'll actually set you up with exactly what you see right here with our teams that'll help you with your onboarding because these are some great post types to start off with. And then the topics are, the topics of your business that you really want to highlight to create that easy navigation. And then, of course, you have the ability to highlight all the topics or some of the topics. I love this because maybe you have a big event coming up like AR Engage Live, and you want to pop that out for the months um, leading up. And then a month after, maybe you want to take some of that down, or even 3 months after, right? As that data becomes less relevant. So the startup is really easy. And of course, um, our team will walk you through all of this. The next piece, I'm going to go back to the home screen here. Um, I was so impressed with our team for reimagining how to get content loaded into your portal because content is really important because that's what the analysts are consuming, but it also could be a little bit of work getting things just right. So let me go ahead and go into this post area. And then I'm going to open up this new post. There's three options. You can do things the good old-fashioned way, which is filling out a form. Or I know that you guys have press releases on a website or a PDF. You can either generate from a URL or you can generate from a document. All right. So let me go ahead and do this internet magic. I have a URL from our corporate website. And I'm going to go ahead and paste it in there. Wait, why does it not like me? It doesn't like me because live demo. Why is it not valid? There's
The
something that must
space
have.
at the end of the URL, I think.
Oh, is that what it is? No. It's definitely me, not you. Let's see here. I promise I did this just today. At any rate, what happens? You click create, and then the system actually takes from the URL. And let me actually show you what I pulled this from. So I pulled it from this website. Oh, yeah, I pulled it from this content right here, right? And I essentially asked Architect or AR Connect to bring over the content. So it got me started. I just need to make sure I get the right post types, the right topics. I can switch out the banner image if I don't love it. I can even grab, if there was a video here, I could grab the URL from the YouTube or wherever it's posted and it'll load that up for me. And then down here, by the way, full screen, love this because I hate being stuck in a little box. I'm pretty sure many of you feel like that too. So here it's gotten all of the text for me. I can just go in here and resize some images if I want, make some edits. I love this because I don't know if you've ever had to save a bunch of images, make sure that they were high quality, and it's like, gosh, this is already on my corporate website. I wish it could just suck it into my portal so it doesn't take me a lot of time. Well, of course, our team figured this whole thing out. I love it. And that's actually some feedback that we got from other folks too, is just having everything there and you're just doing a little bit of editing, really helpful. The other thing that is really great is if you have writer's block with doing a quick summary because you are literally juggling a lot of things, you can actually have the AI generate a summary for you as well. And that's taking that from the actual content. And it gave me a really nice summary. So I don't have to work on that either. And when you're ready to publish, you can publish now. You can set it for the future. And what I also really like about this is if something changes in a piece of content, you actually will have to hit the publish again. So it's not like, did it go? Did it not go? So I really thought it was super thoughtful how the team thought about all of the different workflows and yeah. Okay. So now that we've seen how to post the content, I'm going to go back home and show you that in our new sort of reporting, if we want to see our active influencers, we can see all of this very easily. I love the fact that these views are already set up for me, so I don't really have to um, remember what I'm doing. And then also, if you want to filter for, who's looked at the portal, who hasn't logged in yet, you've got these great filters as well. Let me go a little bit further into the reports here. Oops. All right. So I think it's really important to note that clicks is not exactly engagement, right? I love the fact that our team is tracking that, yes, Laura has been on the portal with frequency, but 21 whole minutes, actually almost 22. She clearly clicked off a second before it was 22 minutes. So I love the fact that I can see like, okay, let me drill in to see that Laura Taylor, what Laura was looking at. I can interact with this. I also love that the charts are changeable. This is really important for me. For those of you that know, I don't love to build decks all the time. And sometimes I want a different graph, right? Sometimes I want a different kind of bar. Sometimes I want to see trend lines. Sometimes I really only want to look at a specific analyst here. I can actually dig into a specific analyst in this report or even a specific firm. Right. here, if you wanted to dig into a specific analyst and see what that analyst is doing, you kind of get a nice little scorecard to see how many days the analyst was active, what their content view was, what type of content, what topics they were looking at, and then I can see the details here. This is fantastic because I know that many folks will say, oh, well, this analyst just did maybe 300 quick clicks in the last quarter. What have they been looking at? What are they interested in? And then let me dig a little bit deeper to see, like, is this someone we should be engaging with? And then what's really interesting, and we've done this with a couple of our clients, is you can actually see that an analyst will look at a specific piece of content and then look at what they're publishing, and you can actually see that workflow. And that's really exciting, especially when you're thinking about amplifying a message or even illustrating when an analyst takes your thought leadership and then amplifies it throughout the industry. I've heard some of that too, where we do some of the learn on both sides where we're sharing across our relationships. So I think I've got everything, Connor, right? Wonder if there's any questions.
We had one so far, which I'll come back to. I can come back to later. The two things I wanted to call out though before we recap some best practices mentioned throughout is two things that I'm looking for personally in data. One are champions. I think if you can, especially using the time on page, time on portal metric to identify the analysts who are the early adopters, the people who clearly are having a great experience and are it's become habitual for them. Um, Activating those champions to spread the word to evangelize what you're doing, I think is a great way to take advantage of the data we're providing here. And another reason to look closely at the data is to identify content, as you were mentioning, Crystal, content that can be pruned. I think sometimes there can be an aversion to pruning content, but it serves a really important purpose, not only to ensure that, again, nobody finds anything they're not supposed to find that's inaccurate, but also if the data is telling you that nobody's really finding any kind of value from a piece of content, archive it, prune it, because again, the less clutter, the less think of it this way, the less clutter there is, the easier it is for an analyst to come in and find what they are actually looking for, and that's a better experience. That's going to keep them coming back later. So I'd say two things to look for again in the data are your champions, the analysts who can help you evangelize, and then the content that should be pruned. Um, so those are just the two things I wanted to call out here. So with that, I can take the screen back and we can wrap things up if you wouldn't
Oh,
mind.
Connor, one little shout out for those that have some transition time coming up. We do have a full transition checklist. And for those net new portals that are like, how do we even wrap our heads around this? Oh, let me stop my share. We have a checklist for that too. Like, hey, these are the best practices. And guess what? The checklists are not that lengthy. They're quite simple, and once we get through like half of them, you're good to go.
Great. So let me get my last few slides ready here. Click share. Again, you all will get this very slight slide deck along with the recording. But just want to call out here, throughout the demo, we mentioned a few tangible best practices that you all can take with you to apply to your own strategy, your own usage of this tool. Again, with the content we're publishing, we're solving for a variety of analyst use cases or needs, thinking carefully about what are all the different reasons they might come to our site. Let's make sure that we can satisfy those use cases. We identified our one big major content asset. Maybe you have multiple, but we are squeezing as much value as we possibly can out of that one piece of content so that we are satisfying a lot of use cases without doing a lot of work. And the last best practice we shared in terms of publishing was we are providing a variety of formats, again, so that we can observe what our audience gravitates toward, and we can use that engagement data to provide more of what they want and less of what they don't want to create a better experience. And then, as I just mentioned again, identifying champions who can, analysts spend time with other analysts, so folks who can encourage their peers in the analyst community to check out your site. You should find those opportunities, and again, pruning content where appropriate. Um, and last slide here, just wanted to call out that what we have shared today and what we're using today, what anybody with AR Connect can use today, this is all part of what we would call phase one. So I wanted to just mention what our product team was laser focused on for this initial release was, as Crystal mentioned earlier, nailing the UX design, creating an experience that's really pleasant to use. They wanted to nail the engagement metrics with things like time on portal, time on page, making sure that those were super useful to AR pros. And as Crystal also mentioned, making it as easy as possible and as easy as it should be to publish content. So those were the biggest focus areas for phase one. Phase two is what our team is working on right now, and these are all things that are coming very quickly this quarter. Those focus areas are the ability for analysts to personalize what they get notified about in terms of new content, new features that facilitate more very direct collaboration between AR teams and analysts, and going even deeper on the engagement metrics to make it even easier for you to, again, glean the impact that all this work you're doing is having on the program and on the business. So with that, any questions? I saw one. I'm having trouble. I can stop sharing. So I can access my toolbar.
Right. I saw that someone was having trouble getting to their AR Connect site. Unfortunately, I'm not sure who that is. If you could email me or support at ARInsights, I'll put my email and the support email. Just let us know and let's see what's going on.
Yeah, I think Crystal, just letting folks know the migration is something they do in collaboration with your team. So until that happens, that URL and accessing it from that public side will probably redirect you if you are a legacy portal customer. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Oh, right. That's true.
And I saw one question about the AI summary, and as we showed with our own content, and when Crystal was in the back end, you can attach the videos to the top of a post. And somebody asked whether the AI summary that Crystal generated will capture content from the video. And as of right now, that AI summary is generated just based on the text of the post, not on the content of the video. So in case anybody didn't see that answer. And with that, Crystal, anything else for the audience before we let them go today?
If you want to know more about AR Connect or your transition, there are two emails in there. Please feel free to use them. I believe we've reached out to mostly everyone. And we're really excited. And I can tell that the analysts are excited as well. In fact, if you saw on LinkedIn, they're all saying, get your event invites out early. And this is a way to be able to scale your events out to those analysts that you can't invite on the first round, or you just can't invite at all. So just think about that, because that's a really big use case for analysts in AR Connect, is sharing all of that great AR Summit or customer event things digitally, since we all can't be everywhere all the time. Yeah.
Thank you, Crystal, and thank you all so much for being here for today's webinar. And we, again, keep an eye out for the recording and our very tiny slide deck, again, no later than tomorrow. And we will see you all soon. Thanks all.